Hi everybody and welcome back to my kitchen. The next page in our taco manual is going to take us to the Hidalgo market in the city of Veracruz. This is one of my favorite markets in all of Mexico, mostly for eating, because all of these stalls in there make tacos. They make tacos de guisados, basically. And one of the things that is super well known there is kind of anything that is called a la Veracruzana, Veracruz style. And when you're talking about that, it usually means that there's a tomato base and it's got herbs and capers and olives, all kinds of things that we all associate with Mediterranean cooking. But we have to keep in mind that even though Mexico is the home of all tomatoes, there was a lot of trade back and forth between Spain and Mexico for hundreds and hundreds of years. And they would take those ships across the Atlantic and land in Veracruz. So there's very much that back and forth between what the flavors of the Mediterranean are and the flavors of Mexico. So of course with the tomatoes we're going to put some green chili in there, and what we create is a unique flavor a la Veracruzana. Now, what a lot of people would do is a fish a la Veracruzana, but in the Hidalgo market in downtown Veracruz, my favorite is the tongue tacos a la Veracruzana. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do. And I'm going to show you how to do it from beginning to end here. So I'm chopping up some garlic here, and I'm going to do all of this in an electric pressure cooker, because cooking a tongue takes hours, but it takes 1 hour in a pressure cooker. You could use a stovetop pressure cooker for this as well. And in the recipe, I will give you the directions if you just want to braise the tongue on the stovetop. So we've got our tongue there. I'm going to nestle the tongue now into the pressure cooker. And I have the little wire rack in there that just makes it easier for people to get the stuff out, the tongue out, basically. And so I'm going to nestle this or curve it in here like that. And we are going to add to that a cup of water, just a small amount. But I had this on just testing it to make sure it was going to work for us, and that's why you heard that little sizzle there. I'm going to put in 4 cloves of chopped garlic. Now all of this is chopped up because I want it to kind of melt into the broth. You'll see we're going to use this delicious broth in just a minute. And then I've got an onion, and I'm going to add that to the pressure cooker. And then the last thing is the herbs. We really want to infuse the flavor of the tongue and the flavor of the broth with the classic Mexican herbs. So even here in the United States, I can go to my Mexican grocery store and I can buy a bundle of what's called hierbas de olor, the aromatic herbs. And this is what you find in that bundle. This is marjoram here. This is thyme over here. And this is California bay laurel. Now, they just call it bay or laurel, but it's a different thing than what we know as the bay leaf from Europe. And if you just crush this and smell it, it's got quite a different aroma to it. So, and you can use a chunk of them like that. I'm just going to throw them all in there. And we're going to put the top on this and set the, okay, that way. And I have, I've got to do some, I don't know what I'm thinking about here. I got to do some salt and pepper in here. We're going to want that in here. So I got already ground a teaspoon of pepper there. And I am going to put roughly a teaspoon. We're going to come back and season this later. But I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt in there as well. Now, I am going to put the top on it here and put that on and then lock it in place. Make sure that it's not on venting, but it is here on sealing. That's the way you want it to be. And then the pressure cook, press that. And you want it to be going for an hour, set it for an hour, and then we'll come back after an hour. I'm going to let this just naturally release its pressure and show you what it looks like at that point. But the nice thing about these electric pressure cookers is that they're silent and you just put them on the stove top, on the counter, and you just walk away from them, and they're super, super efficient. Okay, next step in our lengua a la Veracruzana is, since we have our tongue cooked now, and I let it just do a natural release, but you could do the quick release if you wanted to in this thing. I'm going to get rid of the top of this back here, and I can lift this out. It's a little warm, but not terribly hot here. You can see that it is steaming nicely. I want to get rid of all the herbs that were in here. Some of them are stuck right over here on the tray. And some of them will be over here because I'm going to turn this on saute now. That would be the function that will bring it to a boil. I want it to be the highest temperature that this one will do. Fish out the rest of these herbs here. Boy, it smells so rich and beautiful. This would make a good base to a soup. I think I missed one of the leaves over there. And we're going to reduce all of this liquid, this cooking liquid, to almost a glaze there. I'm going to let the tongue now cool off a little bit more until it's handleable, and then I'll come back and show you how it is that we clean the tongue. But while we're waiting here, let's talk about the other flavors. So classic flavors for anything a la Veracruzana are going to be tomato, green chili, capers, olives, and parsley. This is not a cilantro dish. So I have all of these things here. I want to make a coarse puree out of tomatoes, and I'm going to start with the tomatoes that are fire roasted and diced, and I have tipped off all the juice from them there. And then I have a couple of serrano chilies that I've chopped up. This is not going to spend much time at all in the blender jar. So I chopped the chilies quite fine. The top needs to go on here. And then I'm just going to kind of pulse it a few times until I get that what I call coarse puree. Okay, I think it looks just right here. You can see some chunks of the tomato. And just to make everything really easy, I'm going to take the capers. I'm using the small capers. The big capers work here, but they're kind of large. And then I have some green olives that I'm going to add to that as well. The green olives are typical in Mexico. Something like a manzanilla olive is classic, but you could use whatever you have on hand to make this. When this liquid mixture has reduced all the way to a glaze, then I will dump all of this in there, and then we will work on this tongue. It's still a little bit hot, so give me a couple minutes here and I will come back to you with this in a state that I can show you how to clean it. I want to show you what this looks like in here. This has been going now for about 15 minutes or so, and it's very thick. It's almost on its way to that glaze kind of state. You don't want to burn it or anything, so just get it to get really thick. Now, let's talk about how you clean the tongue. So there's really kind of two layers you'll see in a lot of this. So I've peeled off the thick outer layer of it here. Oh, there's some herbs stuck on it still. This is the inner layer. It's a very thin layer, and it will not all be completely intact there. This is the thick outer layer, so you just peel that part of it right off. So you want to come down underneath it here, and I like to run my fingernails against it like that to get any kind of exterior fat off as well. You don't have to be too careful with this part of it though. Let's see what it looks like on the other side. We have some remnants of the skin, so we want to be sure to get all of that off. That's not good. That's not edible. And so you want to take that all off. And then run your fingers through here and see if there's anything else that you want to get off of it, meaning exterior fat. Okay, or there's a little bit of skin still on that. Next thing that I do with this is to cut the last inch of it off here and run my fingers through it looking for gristle. So this, I can tell you, is a very well cleaned tongue, but if it's long on the back, there will be gristle in there. So if you cut that last inch off, you can tell how well cleaned it is. I just use my fingers to go into it. And then we're gonna cut all of this up into pieces that are a little smaller than an inch, a little bit bigger than a ½ inch there, and we'll set those to the side. Now, I'm looking at this and thinking it's at the right stage now. So I'm gonna pour our tomato, caper, olive mixture in there with green chili. All right, now let me just give it a quick stir to make sure everything is blended. And we are gonna cut up all of this tongue and put it in there, and then cook everything together until it's reduced enough that the sauce will coat the meat very nicely. You don't want it to be runny at all because it would just run out of the tacos. So we're gonna chop all this up, put it in there, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's ready. Okay, everything is ready. I'm chopping up some parsley here, flat leaf parsley, to add to it now. Some people would have added this earlier and let it cook a long time with the tomato base, but I kind of like its freshness in here, so I'm going to add it to now. So just to review what we had here, we first took all of the juices from the cooking of the tongue and we boiled those way down. Then we added the tomato base here with the capers and the olives and the chili, and we cooked that until it was thick enough to hold its shape in a spoon. Then in went the cleaned and chopped up tongue, and I let that cook for another few minutes to blend the flavors and ensure that we have the right texture here, because it has to be thick enough that I can actually make a taco out of this. Now I'm putting in that parsley, and it's time to give it a taste and see. Now, there was some salt in the initial cook of the tongue. I will say that capers and olives are very salty, so they've given a lot of salt to this. For me, it's just perfect. And now the moment of enjoying a quick trip to Veracruz. Lay out a couple of tortillas. I will take the beautiful braised tongue, tomatoes, capers, olives, and herbs, and put that down on the tortillas. This doesn't really need much of a garnish, but if you want to take a little bit more of that parsley and sprinkle it over the top, it will be welcome there. There you have a very delicious combination, classic combination of tongue a la Veracruzana.